Fellas, good evening. Hope everybody is doing well tonight. I'm gonna give you all a few moments to come on in. Got some I know that are already in the room. Thank y'all for joining tonight. Just to be sure we got everything as it should be, I want you all just to comment in the chat if you can hear me. Let me know that everything is good and clear on that end. And we're gonna get going. We're gonna get moving in just a moment. Again, thank y'all for getting on tonight. And my plan is to not have you on here very, very long. My hope is that I'll be able to do this and do it in about 30, 40 minutes. And if I can do that, I think that we will be able to say we had a great night. All right. All right. So this is tonight. I'm aiming for my men, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm gonna share. I'm gonna try my best just to share. All right. You received a notification from YouTube. I'm sorry, ladies. I'm sorry. Tonight I'm talking to the men. Y'all can come back and get the replay, or if y'all can sit in and not disturb, y'all don't shake the table or anything. Y'all just let the men talk. I ain't gonna throw you out. If y'all, long as y'all don't let us know you here, I ain't gonna throw you out. But this is the night I'm aiming for the men in particular, and there's some things that I want to be sure that I give you all, I get to you all, and hopefully by the end of the night, I can answer a couple of your questions. So here's what we're going to do, and I want to start it this way. A lot of times that people say, and there is a thought that men do not want training, men do not want development, men are afraid of opportunities to be sharpened or to be increased in what they are and what they're called to be. And they say that men avoid these type of situations and scenarios, and we just don't come into these type of settings very often. And so there is this thought that men don't want to be better, and men don't want an opportunity to improve on who we are and what we're called to be. I actually think this is gonna be different. I think that most men deny spaces where this type of development happens because most of those settings end up being beat up settings. So we get told what we're not and what we're doing wrong and all of our errors without any type of affirmation, any type of direction, any type of insight that gives us wisdom into ultimately where we're going. What my aim is over these next 30, 40 minutes tonight, what I aim to do is expose some of my wounds as a husband and as a man, and hopefully allow that to be an opening for you all to see what it is that God has called you to be. All right. So I'm talking about the heart of a healthy husband tonight. And again, if there are any ladies in the room, all I'm going to ask is just allow this to be a safe space for the fellas so that we can just kind of talk and I can give them some direction from my experiences. That's the only thing we ask. Just let the fellas have it in the chats. All right. So here's what I'm going to do, and here's how I want to start this. Tonight I'm going to give you all what I think are four keys. There are four keys to maintaining healthy. A healthy heart posture, or being healthy as men, so that you can be the best husband you can be. Many of you on this live tonight, you are husbands in preparation. You're already husbands. You're gearing up to do and or to be relationally fit to be all that you are called to be. So what I'm going to do is just give you all some nuggets that I think are going to help. And I've only got four of them. All right. What I know to be true and certain about every man, and just about every man on this live, if I'm telling the truth, I want you all just to throw your hand up. I need you just to say something. Just throw your hand up, put your hand up, say something. Just about every man, we are known for being two things. We are internalizers and we are fixers. Those are two of our strongest components. If our wife, our significant other comes to us and shares something, the first thing we think is we've got to fix it. So what we try to do is figure out a way to fix their problem. Or if they tell us something is going on in their hearts or something's going on in their lives, the first thing we think is, what can we do to fix it? All right, we try to fix it. We go into fix it mode. The other part that we do, and I think we do it strong, is we internalize. Meaning when we have issues or something is going on with us, we let it stay in our head, we let it stay in our heart, and we don't verbalize it appropriately and at the appropriate times because we consider it to be our safe space. So if I leave it in my head or if I let it stay in my heart, at least I know it's safe there. Because if I give it to someone else, I'm giving them the power and the authority to belittle what I feel or to make me feel indifferently about what it is that's going on in my heart. So we internalize it, we hold it in, and then if we hear or find problems, we try to fix them. So the casualty to internalizing stuff is that more often than not, and I want you all to agree with me just as quick when I say this, when we are internalizers, we typically have what I call a tipping point, something that transpires that makes us explode. So everything has been cool, everything is fine, and all of a sudden, one little thing will trigger us, or one small thing will happen, and all of this other stuff, all of this other emotion or vitriol will start to just bubble up out of us. And we're like, man, I thought I had dealt with it, when really we didn't deal with it, we suppressed it. We pushed it down far enough so we wouldn't have to see it, but we didn't really manage it or talk it through so that we would know how to fix it. The other part about being an internalizer, and I'm kind of getting into the real things I want to tell you all tonight. The other part about being an internalizer is this. We think that if we say it out loud, that exposes a weakness that we have. And because we're afraid of being vulnerable and weak, we don't want to give anyone a clue of what our kryptonite is. So consequently, we push it down, we don't say much about it, and we think that we're staying strong by not verbalizing what it is that's really caused us pain. So we carry pain and we carry stress and we carry our weaknesses in our own heart and we carry it in our own head, and we do it to the degree that it starts to affect us mentally, it starts to affect us emotionally, and it starts to affect us relationally. So tonight, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give us what I think are 4 keys. I'm going to hit it quick. I want you all to keep commenting and let me know if I'm in the right vein for what's going on in your life. And I promise you tonight, by the time we get to the end of this, you're going to get at least a little bit of revelation that just kind of helps you navigate what I believe are going to be the next steps for your future. All right. Now, contrary to popular belief, fellas, I want you to hear me. I understand that you carry a ton. If you are a husband, you are not just carrying the responsibility of being either someone's employee or your own entrepreneur. You are also carrying the burden of being primarily responsible for another woman, potentially children, housing, provision, all of these pieces that typically go unseen and unknown. We're carrying it. And when we carry it and we make ourselves responsible for it, more often than not, we don't let people into those vulnerabilities. Sometimes even our significant other, we're afraid to give them those places that are the heaviest burden for us sometimes. We don't verbalize it. And what I've discovered with most men, and here comes my first point, is that we do not have the right communities. All right. I want you to type this in the bottom. Just this one thing, community. We do not have the right communities. And I think for your heart to stay healthy and for your mind to stay clear about what it is you're really created for and where you're going in the future, you have to restock your community, meaning the individuals that are in your proximity. You have to restock them to the degree that you know you have men men that you can lean on in the moments of your greatest weakness. All right. You have to have men that you can lean on in the moments of your greatest weakness. Now, I know I'm already going to hear it, and I know it's already very true. Most men find it difficult to develop community. You want to know why that happens for us? Because we often think that we have to be the strong one. And because we have to be the strong one, even getting around other men, sometimes it's difficult to be vulnerable. So what we do is even if we develop other relationships, we try to be sure that we're the strong one in the relationship so that we don't have to really share what our vulnerabilities are. Here is what I'm going to admonish you to do tonight. If you don't find anyone but one or two, your charge from me before this month ends is to recalibrate your community. And here's what I mean when I say recalibrate your community. You have to surround yourself with men that are going where you're trying to get. All right. That's one level, beloved. Every one of your friend circles is going to have relational equity, and they have to be postured, or they have to be positioned in such a degree that they help you go where God is trying to get you. So you have to surround yourself with men that are already in the place where you're trying to grow to. So what does that mean? That means I have to find a man that I can be vulnerable enough with, that has already walked through where it is that I'm going. This is mentorship. I've got to find a man that's willing to mentor me, that can look at my ugliest spaces and not think something's wrong with me because I have deficiencies, but help me process through my weaknesses. Now, why am I saying these pieces? Why am I opening up like this? One of my greatest errors, and I'm telling you all, I'm going to open every one of my wounds. We're just coming out of Easter. We saw the wounds of Christ in his hand and in his side. I'm going to open my wounds tonight. One of my greatest deficiencies as a husband is that I didn't have the right men speaking into who I was becoming in the process. And what I did was I leaned into who I saw my father be, and I tried to become my father in my marriage. The reason why that becomes problematic is my father worked well for my mother, but my father does not work well for my wife. So I was becoming the man that I saw him be without having anyone to give voice to what it was I was becoming in the middle of my relationship. So I was the man that paid the bills but never had the conversation. I took care of everything in the house, but I never talked to my wife about what it was I was taking care of. And so what that developed was almost like a Superman mentality. If I didn't have enough to cover the bills, I would just find a way to do it instead of being vulnerable enough with my wife to say, hey, we need to cut back on A, B, C, and D this month, because if we don't, we're not going to be able to pay this bill, or we're not going to be able to do this. I'm saying this for the married men, that the thing that your circle needs to be comprised of the most is other married men that are either at peer relationship or at mentor relationship or mentor level. Other men that are peers that are going through what you're going through right now, or other men that are mentors that can tutor you in this season and help you cultivate your marriage and your relationship for where you are. For my single men, because I know there's a ton of single men in here tonight. For my single men, here's what I'm saying to you. If you have an aspiration to be married, you need to ensure that somewhere in your mentorship circle, you have a man that you can look to who has a strong marriage, not just a strong front, but actually has a strong marriage, something that's worth modeling. All right, something that's worth modeling. And it's not to say you're going to be able to take their blueprint and adopt it solely into yours, but they can give you at least direction on how to model and how to be and how to become. Guys, I just didn't have enough voices. And the voices that I did have, they were attempting to talk me out of what it was God was trying to develop me in. All right. Woo, y'all, this is about to get tough. It's going to get tight. You need to surround yourself with men that are not going to tell you the quickest way to get out of a marriage or out of a relationship, but give you the strength to stick in it even when it gets tough. All right. What your life and this next step needs in order to fortify yourself as a husband and to keep yourself healthy are the men that will tell you, all right, you're coming to me. I'm going to be your corner. I'm going to be your cut man. I'm going to help get you together in the corner. But after I get you together in the corner and I encourage you and I give you direction, I'm pushing you back in and telling you to get back in the fight. If your circle is so quick to tell you to opt out rather than staying in, it's going to make you miss valuable points of development that God's trying to do in your heart. Okay? Valuable points of development that God is trying to do in your heart. So you need men that are going to tell you to stick in it. You need community. I need every man before this month is out. Find at least, this is going to be a struggle for some of you because it's going to make you have to be vulnerable, but find at least one mentor. Discover a man, even if it's not somebody that you can sit and talk with in person. Find a man that will help look at your challenging pieces and help give voice to what it is you're becoming as a husband, as a father, or even as a husband in preparation. To be honest, this entire live tonight was birthed out of a conversation with some of my sons. I was telling them pieces that I was burdened about for men, and they were like, hey, you just need to go live with this. We need to create an opportunity for you to speak to other men and let them know that these are some of your areas of weakness and how to find their way through those difficult pieces. Okay. So number one is community. All right. You need community at peer level. You need community at mentorship level. And as you develop, you'll have community at mentee level. All right. At mentee level. All right. So the type of mentor you have will reveal the parts of you that you didn't know were there. I believe strongly in impartation. So I believe, like, for the guys that walk real close with me, what I share with them in my wounds, I create an opportunity for them to not have to walk through it if they submit to it. All right. So you need community. You need community. You need community. Number two, you need conversations. So community and conversations sometimes can work hand in hand, but you need conversations. And when I say conversations, here's what I mean. Because we're naturally internalizers, we need to find safe places where we can vet out what it is that's in our head and in our heart. You need a safe place where you can vet out what's in your head and what's in your heart. All right. You need a safe place where you can just have a conversation. All right. Here's what I don't want you to feel bad about. I don't want you to feel bad about having a day, sometimes a week, let's be honest, sometimes a month where you don't feel like you're at your best. It's okay. All right. It is perfectly fine for you to have a season where you're not on every day. What's not fine is for you to stay in your head about being off and not have the conversations with individuals that can help you flush through what's in there so that you don't reproduce it in another season. All right. Whatever you leave in your head has the ability to multiply itself again. All right. So that's why whatever you think the most about yourself, you'll find yourself duplicating over and over again. Because whatever you allow to live here, you give the right and the responsibility to multiply itself again. All right. It will reproduce after its own kind. Whatever's in my head becomes a byproduct of what's in my heart. And it's a thing that I constantly become. Where I want to safeguard every husband in training, every man that's in a relationship right now, is that when you're internalizing, find a place where you can have a conversation to get all of that stuff out. Now, for me, I think, and some of you all may kick against this, but I'm going to tell you why it's important. I think on the other side of having mentors, having counselors, having individuals who you can go to solely for counsel, solely for counsel and counseling is a weapon in your arsenal that you have not used yet. All right, it's a weapon. Now, I'll be honest with you. Where I failed the most as a husband is internalizing my pain and not vetting it out through the proper processes. All right. So I internalized the pieces that hurt me, that damaged me, and I didn't give them the right space in order for me to get them out of my head and heart. So what I ended up doing was reproducing again the thing that I didn't want to do because I didn't talk it out so someone could give voice to another part of it. One of your greatest weapons in this season, hear me well, every man I'm talking to now, is for you to find a counselor. For some of you, that is a certified counselor. For some of you, that's just a man that can speak wisdom, speak truth to power to everything that's going on in your life. There is such a strong weapon in having certified counselors and counseling. Having somebody whose couch or whose screen you can go to, you can vomit out everything that you feel and not worry about how it's going to be managed or handled on the other end of it. I'm telling you, one of the strongest weapons in your arsenal is having somebody that you can give it all to. And after you vomit it all up, they can say, okay, now that I've heard that, let me tell you what I heard and let me put voice on the places where there are deficiencies. Because more than most of us will give it credit, and more than most of us will be willing to admit, we live for and we need affirmations. And I'm going to get to that in my last one. We live for and we need affirmations. We need to know in a positive way that we're not as far off track as we thought, that we're not so far off of the metrics as what we thought. We need somebody that can say, you know what? All right, well, maybe you didn't process this part right, or maybe you missed the mark here, but that doesn't mean you're a bad man. It means that with a little bit of redirection and affirmation, I can pull more beauty out of what you thought was a bad thing. Hear me, fellas. Get a space where you can have clear conversations. Now, let me tell you all a couple of ways I work this. I'm going to give you knowledge, but I want to give you practical pieces to kind of go along with this as well. Because of what I do, a lot of what I end up becoming is the strong one for everybody else. So it's just part of my makeup. I'm a leader. I'm a father. I'm one that sets direction and directives naturally. It's what I do. All right. So I end up being the one that takes everybody's stuff on. But when it comes to my marriage, what I've learned is I can't always be the one that just takes people's stuff on. I've got to have a safe community where I can have conversations, where I can go, and I want to be very honest, to one of my brothers and say, hey, right now, here is what's happening in the context of my marriage. Here is where I'm failing as a husband. Let's be honest. Here is where my wife is getting on my nerves. Here is where my children are about to drive me crazy. And finding the community that can hear that, laugh with you through it, and say, okay, now that we got this, let's see how we redirect what it is you're feeling. You need a safe space. You need a safe space. If your safe space becomes tainted because it is riddled with very obscure thinking and very poor opinions, it has the ability to jeopardize the conversations you need to have when you get back home. Because listen to me, on the other side of your internalization, there has to be a place where you go back and have conversation with the one that you need to get it right with. So, case in point, even since we have been stuck in the house together, Fanika and I have had moments of adversity We've had moments where we did not see eye to eye. We've had moments now that we're in close proximity, a lot of the time, where she's been able to say, hey, well, since we're here, I might as well tell you that this is what I'm really feeling, and this is what I've really been thinking, and this is what I think is not transpiring well. And y'all know, much like me, what happens is this, and hear me, this is going to be for the married men and the single men. The moment your wife says, or your significant other says, can we talk? We automatically go into a level of shutdown. We start to say, okay, what did I do wrong? What happened last week? We go into this mental component of our thinking where we're like, okay, I need to be sure that I did this right and I didn't mess this up and I didn't do, we get in our head. And so a lot of times when we get in our head, it makes us miss what they actually are saying. And if we hear it, now we got to deal with the stuff that was already in our head and simultaneously take on what they're saying about us. Okay, so it causes us to go into all of these internal components of saying, wow, I didn't even realize that much was wrong with me. Or wow, I didn't even think that, I was that far off. Oh, wow, I screwed that up that bad. I actually thought I did pretty good. And it makes us begin to think negatively about ourselves when really leaving it in our head makes it far worse than what it actually is. All right, so we just start backtracking. That's exactly what we do. We hear something that feels like an error. We start to run back. All right, no, okay, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Did I empty the trash? Did all the bills paid? Did the kids eat? Is there food in the house? We just start going through all these components. Single men, I'm preparing you. It does not stop after girlfriend status is done or after bay and boo status is done. It actually intensifies. All right, we go into our head. We begin to think, what did I do wrong and how can I fix it? All right, and we normally end up keeping it in that stage of internalization. So really, I'm mixing 2 points together, 2 of my points together. You need conversation and you need counseling and you need a counselor. You've got to have places where you can talk freely. Now, when I say talk freely, that does not mean that you dishonor the one God called you to. But that means I can safely say, hey, this is what's in my head and in my heart. All right, this is what's in my head and my heart. This is what I'm feeling in this very moment. Can I just let you know? Because let me tell you a truth. It is never safe to give your spouse your raw feeling. I want you to hear me. It is never safe. Every man, single man, married man, if you did not know this already, let me tell it to you now. It is never safe to give your significant other your raw feeling. And I want you to understand, I want you to hear me when I say why. Because we are called to cover our wives, and single men, as you walk into it, you'll understand all the more. You're called to cover your wives. There is a component of our conversation that if we say it in its rawest form, it begins to uncover who we're supposed to cover. All right. So what happens is when we speak in anger and we speak out of unprocessed pain, what we do is we expose and uncover the one we're supposed to be and see as the bride, the one that God calls us to cover forever. This is why, and I cannot say this enough, you need to be sure you have circles that love you enough that will let you come in, get it all out. And then after you get it all out and you process it, you come back and have a conversation. Fellas, hear me when I say this. If your wife loves you like I believe she does, your words carry more potency than you've given them credit for. You have the ability, the same way a woman has the ability to build a man or break a man with her words, you have the ability. Your wife is a delicate flower. And the moment you open up your mouth, you have the ability to create a reality and a narrative that she lives in and she believes you to be as a man and a husband. So this is why you need to have other conversations in safe places before you come back and have the actual conversation that you need to have. That doesn't mean you wait 2 weeks to come back and revisit it. Give yourself 24 hours, 36 hours, all right? You know your wife better than anybody else does, all right? So give yourself time to go back, process through it, have a conversation about it, and then say, hey, let's revisit what it was you were feeling, all right? Because I don't care how smart you are, and I consider men to be pretty smart. I don't care how smart we think we are. There is not a man that will ever outthink a woman. I want you to hear me. I don't care how good we are. I don't care how amazing we are. There is not a man that will ever outthink a woman. All right? Women are often thinking 15 weeks ahead of where we are. I mean, the way their minds work, they just wait. Have processed through stuff and have nitpicked through various things far faster than we ever will. This is why I cannot say enough. It's never safe for you to have a conversation with your wife when you're raw, when you're hurting, when you feel damaged, when you feel like something has hit you deep. It is not a safe place to have a relational conversation. Go home, go to a safe place, process it, and then come back and have a sober one. If we have drunk conversations, we have the ability to damage the one we're called to uphold and cover. All right? So counseling and conversations. I meshed two together. Counseling and conversations. Counseling and conversations. Here's the last thing. This is how you're going to keep a healthy heart. Commitment. Fellas, here's where this is like my last point, and I'm going to open up for a few questions. I want you to commit again to being the best version of you that you possibly can be. Now, here is my greatest affirmation. Here's the greatest affirmation I can offer to you tonight. I think for you to invest 30, 45 minutes tonight to hear me talk about a healthy heart means that you are committed to being the best husband you can possibly be. And what I want you to grab, if nothing else tonight, is this. There are facets of who you are as a man that the world has not seen yet. Here's my affirmation of you. There are pieces of you that your wife needs, that your children are going to need, that the world will need, that no one has ever seen. When you commit to be the best version of you, that means when I wake up every single day, I'm not living to be and to mimic or to be like anything else I've seen. I'm living this moment to be the best version of who I am. It changes the game. It changes everything. I want you to make another commitment to your health. The way your heart stays healthy is the way that you treat this temple and this body that you have. Guys, here's my next honest piece. I don't work out because I want to have big muscles. All right. I don't work out because I want people to think I am the most fit pastor in the world. I work out for my sobriety. I work out to keep my mind and my heart sober. It's a physical healthy, it's an emotional healthy. The whole reason why I keep this watch on and I gauge how much I'm doing every day is because I'm committed to stay as healthy as I can, both physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, so I can be the best man that I can. When I'm tired, and I think every man on this chat will agree with me, when you're fatigued, you make foul decisions. We don't make great decisions when we're tired. And so a lot of times our mental fatigue stops us from taking care of this body, this temple, from being sure that we are in the best shape humanly possible to carry out the plan and purpose that we're created for. What I'm asking you to commit to is to be in the best physical shape that you are. Now, the other part of that is this. Every married man on this line, every man that's dating seriously, every man that knows that you have found the right one, or everyone that is waiting to find the right one, I need you to commit to this. I need you to commit to pray for your spouse in a way you've never done it before. If you're just dating, I want you to commit to pray for the one you're in a relationship with like never before. If you're waiting for her to show up, I want you to pray for her like she's already there. Here's what I have learned. This is probably the most valuable nugget I'm going to give you all night. I'll never dishonor what I am in consistent intercession for. All right? If I make it my mandate to pray for my wife, it is difficult for me to see her in my lens. I'll always see her through his. I want you to recommit to being in a posture of prayer for your spouse. Pray for when she is driving you up a wall, stop and pray for her right then. Doesn't have to be anything you say audibly, but what you do is stop and say, Father God, I thank you for my wife. I honor you for loving me enough to send me the best part of me that's outside of me and her. Give me wisdom on how to deal with her sensitivities. Open up my eyes to see what her heart is really trying to express to me. Show me in a way that I may not have seen it before what it is that she really needs, Show me what she needs, not what I want her to be. Show me what she needs. Commit to covering her. Now, here is, again, I told you all my vow tonight is to be transparent. My wife, since we've been quarantined, really since the first part of the year, has been on me about the fact that we have not dated. So she's like, you make time for everything else. I'm like, but we just watched a movie the other night. She's like, that's not the same. I want you to date me. I want you to fall back in love with us going out, or even if we're in, we're actually doing something and we're not in. We're not just sitting in front of a TV. We're actually, spending quality time together. What I forgot in being the provider was the language my wife speaks is not provision. The language my wife speaks is quality time and physical touch. So when she's asking me to sit on a couch and be still, I'm like, Vanika, I've got A to do. I've got B to do. I've got a ton going on. We're in the middle of a quarantine. I'm still trying to work out every logistic that's going on in my organization and with everything that's transpiring with everybody around. And what I was missing was my wife is screaming to me that I need your attention. And I need you to commit to give me some time. So here it is. This is something, and I want you to take this away, especially husbands, and even those that are dating seriously. I want you to take this away. So tonight, I've got a 10 p.m. date. This morning, I got up, I created my wife an invite to a special dinner that I was doing just for her. Dinner and conversation. 10 p.m. dinner, and I had to do it late because I had you all first, and I had already committed to be voice for you all tonight. So I said, meet me at 10 p.m. and we're doing a special date, just the two of us. All right. I've went out. I've grilled steak and pork chop. I've done all the cooking. I've prepared everything I can for the night. The moment I finish with you all, I'm resetting my living room in our basement, and I'm making it date night appropriate for she and I, because what she's screaming to me is, I want you to date me again. I want to feel like I've got just as much of you as everything else that is important, because I'm just as important as all of that stuff. It's making me have to stop, but recommit and commit again to being the husband I'm supposed to be. Now, hear me when I say this. Even with kids, you know what? I did 10 p.m. because I need my kids to go to bed. And I don't want my kids interrupting my date night. All right. But what I did was I created a context in my home where nothing else is going to be going on. My phone is going on silent. Nothing else is going to be happening. And I'm giving my wife all of my attention so that I can be the husband that she's calling me. She's asking. She needs me to be. All right. So what I'm saying is, for you to keep your heart healthy, here, and every husband on here will agree, every single man, hear me when I say this. When your wife's heart posture is happy, it makes things so much easier for you to walk in and fulfill. when you fulfill her, and I know it's kind of hard in a selfish culture to say, well, why am I always the one having to fulfill her? Hear me. When you fulfill her, she will always be sure that your needs are more than fulfilled. But when she is in a space about where you all are and where the relationship is, it's going to put pressure on everything else around you as well. You keep her heart and her head healthy, you will find that everything in your life gets a whole lot easier. All right. So commit again. Commit to your health and wellness. Commit to being the best husband you can be. Commit to praying for and interceding for your wife. Guys, and hear me when I say this. Recommit to your dreams and your plans. There are things that you have purposed in your heart that I believe God is going to bring into manifestation this year. There are dreams that you have. There are goals that you have. Some of you all have goals to fix your credit. Some of you all have goals to purchase a home. Some of you all have goals to start a business. Some of you all have goals to really do what I'm doing right now and pour into other men. Recommit to your goals. Don't stop it because somebody else is already doing it. You want to know why? God will build you for an audience where you do the same thing, but you attract a different type of people. Don't stop doing it because somebody else is already doing it. Use that as the means that you push yourself out all the more. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of what's in your heart. Stop cowering down to what your dreams really are. Speak them. Watch them come to fruition. Believe in yourself. I want you to hear me from this end. Many of you I have never met. I don't know you. I wouldn't know you if I walked into you on the street today. But what I want you to know is this. In not knowing you and never physically touching you, the fact that you came into this live tonight, hear me. I believe in you. I believe that you would not have invested an hour of your evening into teaching and impartation if you didn't believe there was more in you. I believe that if you commit to your dreams, commit to your plans, and commit to everything that God put in you, you're going to see it all come to reality in a way that's going to blow your mind. Commit to yourself. Commit to making the best you possible right now. And I believe in you enough that if you commit to it, it's going to come to pass. All right. So this is how we keep a healthy heart. Keep the right relationships. Have the right conversations. Find yourself in a place where you can get the right counsel and commit to being the best version of you humanly possible. All right. So those are my little bitty pieces tonight. I know I said a lot. I said a whole lot really fast. But if there is something tonight that you want to ask, something you want to throw out there, I want you to throw it out there now. Lord, I wouldn't even do this. But hear me, and I want you all to know while this part is all the more important to me. What I do with my wife sets the standard for how my daughters will look at husbandry. So how they see me, husband Banika, will have ramifications on what they expect out of a husband. The way they see me husband will will reverberate for years to come out of what they expect out of a husband. So even in moments where it gets difficult, when you have children, you got to ensure that you are modeling the type of man you want them to marry. Because the way they're going to look at a man is the way they see their father. If you got daughters, the way that they look at a man is going to be the way that they first saw their father. So I wanted to be sure I got all of that out. Man, all right, I know I said a lot. I'm going to leave this up so you can go back and watch the replay. All right, so I'm going to try to get a couple questions over the next couple minutes, and I got to get ready for my date, y'all. So I'm going to take a couple questions, and then I'm going to move it right along. So what are the top things single men can be doing now to practically prepare for marriage? All right, here are the pieces nobody told me. Right now, start saving. Start saving. Financially, prepare yourself to be a provider for more than just you. So position yourself now to where you are building up a nest egg for what you're expecting to be. One practical point, the way that you manage money will speak tremendously to the way you manage a marriage. All right. So manage your money well. When you have it, don't spend it. Use it wisely. All right. Don't feel like you've got to buy everything that comes. Don't feel like you've got to be the flashiest. You got to drive the best. No, 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 no. Put money back. Nobody talked to me about how much I needed to save before I became a husband. And it led to significant challenges early on because I wasn't financially prepared to be a husband. Now I'm planning, like if y'all keep doing this, I'm planning to do quite a few more of these. And I want to bring other individuals on that can speak life to the financial aspects of what we do, to the counseling aspects of what we do, even to the spiritual aspects of what we do, outside of just me. I don't want to think I'm just that only voice. So number one, save, manage your money well. All right. Number two is open your heart for God to expose you to you before he exposes you to a woman. Let him show you where your deficiencies are so you can speak well to them before someone has to point them out to you. I cannot say this enough. A man that is familiar with his weaknesses will be less inclined to fall into them. All right. And when I say familiar with them, I know the areas that I don't do well as a man. I know my weaknesses. All right. And I'm not afraid to give them to another man to help me cultivate them. But what kills a man's pride is when he's unfamiliar with the weakness and a woman exposes it. There is nothing more devastating to a man's heart than to have someone else call them on a weakness they were unaware of. Or better yet, they had not verbalized yet. All right. So those are just two quick keys. All right. Get familiar with your weaknesses and sharpen them. Put people around you that'll help you sharpen your deficiencies. Save your money. All right. Save your money. Save well. All right. Be a good steward of what you got. All right. Let's see what else. Let's see. I'm trying to go through a couple of these questions. How do I attract the woman that God has for me? All right. When you are the best version of who you are, I believe it becomes attractive to the woman that you're called to walk with. All right. When you're living out your purpose, you're living out who you were created to be, there is an attractiveness that comes with a confident man. This is why I'm telling you now to recommit to your dreams and your future, because when you're confident about who you are, there's a different depth to your walk. You begin to walk different. You begin to think different. And for most women, the thing that is most attractive is not how you dress and or how you look. It's the confidence that you exude. When you have your confidence, you'll watch what is supposed to be attracted to you coming to you. All right. Let me see. What else can I do? How do you stop being a passive leader? Stop being afraid of confrontation. Conflict resolution is a necessary component of being the leader of a house, the leader of a family, the leader of an organization. Don't be afraid of the difficult conversations. Have them. Don't be afraid of the difficult interactions. Just get them over with. All right. Don't suppress it. Process it and then talk it through. Passivity is very often born out of places where we are either intimidated about what we need to say or we lack confidence on our position. When you're confident in who you are and confident about what you're created to be, there's a different strength that comes behind your words. And there's a different, I don't want to say aggressiveness, but a different type of assertiveness that you have even in leading. All right. So if there are pieces of passivity that you can discern in your leadership, put your finger on it. Like, why am I passive about this? And sometimes you'll have to find the root. Okay. So I was passive like about this because and I'm just throwing stuff out there. I never had a man to teach me how to be confident in hearing my own voice. So consequently, I don't even have the confidence in what I hear come out of me. So it just makes me be passive and take on everything that comes around me. Trace the root, dig it up, and get your confidence pertaining to it? Great question. All right. Let's see. How do you develop trust and mentorship when dealing with scars of previous experiences? Fellas, we're probably worse than women on this. Like, you got one chance, and please pardon my terminology. You got one chance to screw me. Like, you get one shot. You get one shot to screw me over. And very often when I get screwed once, everybody got to pay for it. It's everybody's penalty. It ain't just one. Everybody got to pay for that one place where what I thought I trusted found out not to be a trustworthy source. Here's what you got to do. You've got to open up your heart to try again. In praying and recommitting to prayer and interceding for your spouse, you got to do the same for you. And you've got to ask God to send you the right voices that are going to help you become the man you're called to be. You can't be afraid of doing that. All right? And you've got to be willing to let your guard down enough to let somebody else in. For me, sometimes that happens in phases, meaning I don't give you everything from the onset, but I begin to share pieces with you that won't be detrimental if they get out in another way. And if I see you, I can trust you with the small things. I can begin to open up a little bit more, because the truth is, trust is still something that's built. But you have to identify somebody that's trustworthy and start giving them pieces to help you manage, just to see how well they can handle that. How do you get out of proving yourself to your wife? Okay. Quinn, that's a tough one. That's a very tough one. That's one that probably is going to need a little bit more backdrop and probably a little bit more voice. Primarily because when you often feel like you've got to always prove yourself, there is typically something rooted in the relationship or one of the individuals in the relationship that is expecting levels of failure. And if it's a spouse that is always expecting failure, you'll always live on the edge and always feel like you've got to prove yourself. So there comes a moment where a conflictual conversation has to take place in order to help resolve some of those pieces, because it's one thing to go through a season of proving, but it shouldn't be a lifetime. I think it's a little bit deeper of a conversation, but it may be one that we can flush through in some later interactions. How do you keep the spice fun in your marriage as years pass? Guys, I'm going to be very honest with you. And I know there's some women on. There's going to be some women that are going to watch this probably post once it's posted again. The way you keep the fun in the marriage in the marriage is one thing we do a lot of. We do a ton of laughing in this house. We laugh at each other. We laugh with our kids. We laugh at television. Our marriage is built upon the environment I have to keep for me to be as productive as possible is a very light one. So my house can't be heavy. I can't walk through the doors of my house and feel like boulders are put on my shoulder. I need a very light environment. So we laugh a lot. We talk a lot. We are always trying to re-engage in conversation that keeps us, together and our hearts knit well together. Now, the other part of keeping the spice there is not being afraid to do what you haven't done before. All right. So for us, in particular, sexually, for every married man, I'm going to give you a couple of tips. Some of this is going to have to happen with conversation, but there are elements that you can add to the spice of your sexual relationship that keep it all the more engaged and has the ability to take it through the roof. Guys, I promise you, I know many of you all know me as a pastor. When I come home and I walk through the corridors of my bedroom, I am no longer pastor anybody. I ain't nobody's friend. I'm a whole man, which means I'm attracted by what I see, and I'm attracted to what I have the capability and or the capacity to do with what I see. So with that said, One of the ways we keep the spice in our marriage, Lord, I don't want to give out all the tips of the trade tonight. There's a inbox me. I'm going to send you to a website. I don't want to say it out loud. I'm going to send you to a website that's going to help you keep the spice in. We have introduced different elements into our context that have made things fun, enjoyable, all of the like. All right. So absolutely, there are ways to keep it fun and spicy, and the marriage bed is undefiled. I don't bring nobody else in there. However, there's some tricks you can add in there that make it all the better. All right. Let me see. How I saw one that I wanted to get. How can I prepare to try again after divorce? Man, let your heart heal completely from the last relationship. Then trust yourself again to say, you know what? It did not work out round one, but I'm still a good man. All right? Don't get stuck in your failure. That's what happens to a lot of us. We fail, so we don't try again. Don't get stuck in your failure. Still see yourself. Hear me. You are worth the catch. There is somebody that would love for you to be their significant other. You are worth another chance. And so give yourself one. You've made mistakes. Give yourself grace for that. But now walk into it with the full confidence. I learned from what I had to leave last time, and now I'm going to be a better man because of it. All right. I'm going to take maybe two more, and I'm just kind of scrolling through this. How do you deal with coming second to your stepkid? That's a great question, man. And it's a great one because I walked in with Fanika already having our firstborn, Ashriel. Now, Ashriel, I've been with her since she came out the womb, literally. So she sees me only as dad, nothing more, nothing less. But Fanika has a different affinity to and towards her as well. So those are always pieces that we're processing. So part of that deals with conversation. It goes back to the conversation piece. Being able to say, being vulnerable as a husband to say, babe, I feel like I'm coming in second place to our children. Is there a way that we can create a context where I can get a little bit more of your attention and you can focus in on us outside of what we're doing with our child? Some of those contexts you have the ability to curate, meaning you plan a date just for the two of you, or you ask, or you get the babysitter and have everything squared away just so that the two of you can get some alone time. And out of that alone time, allow that conversation to flow out so that she can see that you value her as your queen and you just want more, a little bit more attention as the husband and the covering. That's a great question. Should you dismiss advice from someone who's not married if seeking marriage advice? I won't say that everybody unmarried does not have a level of wisdom or insight that they can pull from that sometimes has been imparted to them from the right conversations, or that they can just get because of who I am supernaturally by the Spirit of God. However, I would strongly say lean into the counsel of someone who is walking in the steps that you're trying to go, or someone who's already in the position that you're trying to get in. All right. So I would lean to a married man concerned. Like, I would never give one of my single sons pertinent details about stuff I was dealing with my wife about, or something that was going on in my marriage. And it's not that I don't think they could speak levels of wisdom. I just would not position a single person to feel like they need to give voice to something they don't feel stocked to fully supply voice to. So yeah, I would lean into a married man far quicker than I ever would a single one. There's nothing wrong with the single brothers, all right? But if you're looking for marital advice, I would lean first into another married man. Let me take one more. All right. I know I've said a lot. I hope I've helped somebody in this chat tonight. I really, oh man. All right, hold on, let's see. Okay, let me take these last two. Y'all ain't gonna make me miss this date night. How do I raise my boys to love God in church without beating them across the head with church? I think that's a great question. And I think as a father, there are conversations you cultivate in the home without making them so spiritual or so deep that it creates a type of hunger in your children that is born naturally. So I would start with something as simple as this. And David, this will help. I'll send you the link. We purchased for our girls 3-minute devotionals. So we created, they have a little book that they read in the morning and in the evening. It's a 3-minute devotional. Like it's really, really, really quick. But what it does is it gives them the ability to talk through or to read something on their level about God. And on the other side of that, we have conversation with them about it. Now that we're in virtual church, every Sunday I'm doing my kids' children's church lesson with them. And I'm giving them the ability to steer the conversation. So I don't feel like I'm beating them if they're steering it. Meaning they're saying to me pieces that appeal to their heart and questions that they have. So it allows me to give them a safe context for me to put voice to it. A lot of times now, like when I'm home, I'm dad. So I'm not rushing to be pastor. But because I'm dad, I have to cultivate devotion. So I've got to be sure, like even if they're not doing it with me, that my girls are praying together. That at least several times a week. I really want it once a day. I just don't want to override them, but that we're praying together. That they see me as the father praying for their mother. So creating those contexts that, and they can happen in very natural settings. You don't have to sit down with the Bible and say, hey, I'm going to teach you da 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 tonight. It can be a very natural context, something where even at dinner, after dinner, saying, hey, boys, before y'all go to bed or before you go clean up, let me just take a couple seconds. I just want to pray for you. And lay your hands on your sons as a father and just declare quickly. It don't have to be 2 minutes. The word of the Lord over them for that moment. And you'll watch a natural hunger for them and a natural ask for them be born out of just seeing you do stuff like that consistently. Great question. And finally, that's the last one I'll be able to take tonight. As a pastor, how do you speak to your wife without coming from a place of spiritual, theological reference? Guys, again, that's a great question, Ro. I am the priest for my wife. But when I talk to her very plain. So I take my priestly responsibility seriously. I cover my wife very intentionally. However, when we're talking, I'm not attempting to exert my theological strength and or relevance. I am taking those moments very intentionally to talk to her in very plain English. There is a time and a space and a call for everything. But what is best is if you just allow natural conversations to flow. There are moments she needs me to be her pastor. But more than needing me to be her pastor, more days she needs me to be her husband. And when I come home, I don't feel as if God has called me to be her pastor. He's called me to be her spouse, her covering. So when I'm leading her and when I'm directing her, when I'm having conversation with her, very rarely am I pulling up any scripture. When we're talking, even when we're not looking at things the same way, I rarely pull out the rod of what I know because I never want my spiritual side to feel as if it's cracking the whip on the pieces that she feels she may be deficient in. Instead, the best way that you speak to your wife is keeping a level of objectivity. Meaning as she talks, don't attempt to formulate an answer before you can articulate back to her exactly what she said in your words. And it doesn't take any spirituality to be a good hearer. All right. It is spiritual, but it takes very little spirituality to be a good listener. To stop, give attention, let her know she has your attention, and give voice to that. All right. Man, y'all, I hope this has been as good for y'all tonight as it's been for me. I missed a whole lot of comments because I was trying to stay up with some of those other questions. But I hope that this has helped somebody tonight. I hope that there has been at least a little bit of hope given to some men out there, both married and single. I ain't giving this website to no non-married man. I'm not going to have y'all out here falling, all right? I'm not going to have y'all out here falling. So I just want you all to know, man, I appreciate y'all coming on and hanging with me for a little while. I'm going to come back and read through all these comments. I want you to inbox me on IG if you've got anything. Well, it's going to be hard for me to take questions, so I don't want to create a false expectation. All right, but I want you, if you've got stuff you want to share, ways that this blessed you tonight, please feel free to share that with me. All right. So, but outside of that, I want you all to know I appreciate y'all, man. I love y'all for being on. And if this helped y'all, I plan on doing it again. We'll find a way to do it again and keep creating context for us just to have conversations that help us become better men. I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. I appreciate you. I love you. I'll see you all soon. All right.